Alright, so this is Algebra 1, solving quadratic equations by factoring. So we already know what factoring means. We've done a lot of factoring. Factoring means to break apart, right?
Yeah.
So we learned that there are four steps you need to always check, and you're going to still apply those 4 steps on when we do what we're doing now, which is solving equations. But 4 steps GCF, and then we need to check, what was the second one? Xbox.
Oh.
Third one, difference of squares. Last one, 4 terms, okay? So if we know how to do those, then we could use factoring to solve equations. Now, when we talk about solve, we're trying to figure out what's the answer, or what's x equal to and such, okay? So when we know that, we can solve. Continuing on here. These are the steps for today. Set y or f of x equal to 0. We're going to be looking at equations. Remember math machines, when we have an equation, what's the answer when it comes out? And here we go. Okay, solve each quadratic equation. So the first step I always want to do, this is read the directions and it'll say solve each quadratic equation. So when it says solve, I'm trying to find the answer. What's the answer to b? Okay, now, not just breaking it apart, but now we're going to find the answer for our variable. So in this example, b squared plus 5b plus 6 is equal to 0. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that we set our f of x equal to 0, or y. So it's already set equal to 0. Originally, some problems might have this 0 as being y, but since it's already 0, we just leave it alone. Okay. Next thing we want to do is we want to factor the left-hand side. So this whole left-hand side I'm noticing is a quadratic expression. There's a, b, and c. A is equal to 1, b is equal to 5, and c is equal to 6. So we would do an X box for this. So we got 1 and 1. Okay, so we got a is 1 and 1. A times c is 6. B is 5. Okay, and at this point I'm getting pretty good at X blocks. What should be my 2 factors for this example? Nope. It needs to be 2 positive numbers that add up to 5 but multiply to 6. How about 2 times 3? Right? Okay, so some of us aren't as good as others, so which is okay. You might still have to make the list. Okay, so now watch what I'm doing. I finished my X box. I can't simplify, so I'm going to copy these down. It's going to be b plus 2 times b plus 3, right, is equal to 0. I'm bringing down that equal sign. I still have to solve. How many b's do I have here? 2. What was the original exponent, the biggest exponent of my original problem? B to what power? 2. So that means there's going to be 2 answers here. So what you do now is we would have to divide each side by each parenthesis, but here's the shortcut. This is what you need to do. At this point, you would take b plus 2, or this parenthesis b plus 2, and set it equal to 0, and then you would take this one, b plus 3, set it equal to 0. These are each of my factors. I take each of my factors, set them equal to 0, and then I solve for each of these. In order to solve b plus 2 is equal to 0, I would subtract 2 on both sides here. So b is equal to negative 2. That's the first answer. The second answer, I'd subtract 3 on both sides. So b is equal to negative 3. Okay? And that's your answer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so that's how you do number 1. Any questions on number 1? Okay, number 2. First thing I do, set my y or f of x equal to 0. It's already set equal to 0. Step 2, move everything to one side of the equation. Everything's already on one side of the equation. Everything is all equal to 0. Step 3, factor the quadratic trinomial. Okay, so a is equal to 1, b is equal to 18, c is equal to 81. Draw my X box. And a is equal to 1, so we got 1 and 1. A times c is 81. B is equal to 18. Okay, I asked myself what times what is going to be equal to 81, but adds up to 18. 9 times 9, good. Okay. So now we're going to box those, and we have x squared plus 18x plus 81. We're going to rewrite our factors. We have two factors. We have x plus 9 and then x plus 9, right? So take each of these now, take each parenthesis, and we're going to set them equal to 0. So we have x plus 9 is equal to 0 and x plus 9 is equal to 0. Bring that down here. So x is equal to negative 9 here, and x is equal to negative 9. So it's the same answer twice, right? Does that make sense? Now look at the original equation. What was the biggest exponent? X to what power? 2. 2. How many answers do I have here? 2. But they're both the same answer, so we really have only one. Okay? That's all we're doing today. So you're really just doing what you used to do, and then you're just adding this new step. Is this new step hard? No, it's not hard. This is like you doing pre-algebra stuff, like finding what's the value for x. It's really not that hard. All right? So what I'd like you to do right now is today's Thursday. Let's have 2's talk today first. 2 tell 1's about number 1, and then 1 tell 2's about number 2. Ready, set, go.
I love that show.
Okay, number 3. X squared minus 4x plus 3 is equal to 0. Turn to your neighbor, tell them, is our y or f of x equal to 0? Is it set equal to 0 already? Yeah, it is. Okay, so today they're always going to be 0. Step 1's done. Step 2 is everything moved to one side of the equation. To your neighbor, tell them yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, good. Step 3, factor the quadratic trinomial, okay? So let's do an x box. What's a equal to?
1.
1. A times c?
3.
Correct.
B?
4.
Negative 4. Good. What should be my factors for my x box? What two numbers? Negative 3 and?
Negative 1.
Good. Okay. Box them. Can I simplify my fractions at all?
No.
No. So now we're going to make our new factors. So we got x minus 3 and x minus 1 is equal to 0. Next step. Turn to your neighbor, tell them what you would do in the next step. Okay, you guys all writing this down, right? Doing this? So what's the first equation I should write down? Copying what?
X minus 3.
Uh-huh. Keep going. X minus 3 what?
And then
Is what? Uh-huh. Equal to 0. And then what's the next equation I would write?
x minus 1 equals 0.
Good, okay. Now what's the first answer? X is equal to? What's that? X is equal to what?
3.
3, good. That's the first answer. And the second answer is x is equal to what?
1.
Good. That's right. Raise your hand if you did that correctly alongside with me. Good. Hands down. Turn to your neighbor and check their work. Make sure they did it correctly. And raise your hand if you did it correctly. Okay, everyone should have it, right? Okay, so now what I want you to do, number 4 by yourself. I think you could do this one by yourself. Go. Good, so on this one, just in case you didn't get it, do your X box. All right, we got 1 and 1. Positive 9 equal, and it adds up to negative 10, which could be negative 9 and negative 1. So it's going to be r minus 9 times r minus 1, all equal to 0. These are both two answers, so we have to go r minus 9 is equal to 0 and r minus 1 is equal to 0. Okay, now I want to emphasize something from this step. You would take each factor down here. How many total factors did we factor out of X box? 2. Sometimes there's going to be more. Sometimes there could be 3, or it could be 2, or it could be 1. There could be 4. There could be a lot. In Algebra 2, we do much more than just 2. Okay, but in Algebra 1, we could have up to 3. So r is equal to 9. Oop. And r is equal to 1 is your answer. Alright, that's your two answers. Let's do the next one now. I'll start us off on the next one. Okay, solve each quadratic equation. K squared minus 4k is equal to 0. What's wrong?
It
No, they don't. They don't look big. Your eyes have just become better at seeing. No, I'm just playing. Okay. Okay. Now on number 5, what do you notice? Is there a C? No. Okay. So remember, what were the 4 steps we have to go through whenever we factor anyways? First step? GCF. Is there a GCF on number 5? No. Okay, let's think about this. Okay, k squared is like saying k squared, right? This is like saying -4 times k. What number is in both lists?
K.
No, what number is in both lists?
Oh.
Is there a number in both lists?
2.
What number is in both lists? No. Is there a number in both lists? No. What number? Okay, what letter is in both lists?
K.
K, thank you. How many times is K in both lists?
3 times. 1.
How many times is it in both lists? Once, right? This one has it twice, this one only has it once, so it's K is only once. Now we're going to factor it out. Check this out. K squared divided by K is? K, good job. -4K divided by K is? Negative what? Okay. How many factors do we have up here now? 2, right? We have K times K minus 4. So check this out. All you have to do is take the first factor, K, bring it down. K is equal to 0. That's your first answer. Second answer, we can bring that down. K minus 4 is equal to 0. Therefore, K is equal to what? 4. Why is it confusing? Which part? This is like before, right? So on this one, I wanted to show you, I wanted you to write this one down too, as I did it. This one, we just did a GCF, right? Did we do Xbox on this one? No. Okay, now number 6, this one's going to be combo. It's going to be a little bit harder. Okay, what do you notice about number 6? Let's ask ourselves, first question, is there a GCF we could pull out?
Yes. Yeah.
2, yeah. Okay. So, opening it up. 2, or n squared divided by 2 is? 2n squared divided by 2 is? N squared, good. Or 1n squared, just n squared. -8 divided by 2 is? -4, good. Is equal to 0. Now, what are you noticing about this one? Can we do Xbox on this? Is there a B? No, so what's the clue? What's step 3 to check for? Difference of squares. That's right. Good job. Difference of squares, right? So, is this a perfect square?
No. Yes.
I need you to think before you speak. I feel like sometimes people say stuff without thinking. 4. What's the square root of 4? 2. Aren't these both perfect squares?
Yes.
Is there a B? No. So therefore, you could do difference of squares. So bring down the 2 again. We got n. Oh, I'm sorry. We got to do 2 sets of parentheses, like I showed you. And then we said square root of n is? Square root of n squared is? Square root of n squared is? We're almost done. Pay attention. Thank you, n. Square root of 4 is? 2. Okay, so put a plus and a minus sign. Okay. How many factors do we have up here now? 3. 1, 2, 3. Y'all see that? Okay, now let's bring the first one down. 2 is equal to 0. Is 2 equal to 0? No, that doesn't make sense. So there is no answer here, right? N plus 2 is equal to 0. What's your answer going to be after I solve this? N is equal to what?
2.
-2.
You did that.
Okay, well that was over your head. Okay, so next one, n minus 2 is equal to 0. So n is equal to what?
0. Oh, 2.
Are you working this out on your paper? No, you're not. Okay? Okay, kids. Some kids are doing this in their heads. You're not ready to do this in your heads, I could tell. So, not till Algebra 2. Because if you have to take my class over again and again, you're not passing. It's because you're doing it in your head. You're not trying. You got to do the work. You're in high school now. It's not like before. It's like, go 3 plus 4 is?
6.
5? Oh my gosh. 7, okay? Okay, and it's not cute anymore. When you're like young in elementary school, it's like, oh, ha, ha, you got 5. Everyone laughs. You're in high school now. You're becoming an adult. These are basic skills that are like 1st and 2nd grade with adding that someone just messed up on. Okay, not good. And in high school, we don't just pass you. You have to pass with a passing grade, okay? It's not just like, oh, okay, cool. Now you're a sophomore. You keep going. Or now you're a junior. You keep going. No, you kind of get stuck, okay? Anyways, that's your lesson for today.